2-litre four-wheel drive Sierras. Once electronic management systems were just a product of the space race. Today they manage Sierra's fuel injection. Once ABS was only for large cars. Not anymore. Now, more than ever, there is only one Ford Sierra.
Well, after weeks of bright sunshine and record high temperatures, this heavy snowfall could mean that this season is one of the worst on record for avalanches. Avalanches can happen anywhere at any time, and even if you follow the mountain safety code, the avalanches are an ever-present danger. At this year's ISPO trade show, I came across this Autovox system. It comes complete with a mountaineer's backpack, a fully collapsible shovel, a first aid kit, and 2 transceiving units. Now, the units should be worn underneath your jacket and are activated by simply putting in the neck strap. The transceiver gives off a high-frequency signal that can be picked up by another unit. As the rescuer hones in on the signal given off by the buried skier's unit, the beep frequency becomes louder so that the rescuer can pinpoint the exact location of the buried skier and start digging an air passage. 25% of fatal accidents occur before the avalanche comes to a stop. Of the remaining 75%, most could survive if discovered within the first 30 minutes after the slide. So if you enjoy skiing off-piste, drop down to your local ski shop and have a look at the Autovox system. It doesn't cost very much, and it could be your link between life and death. Well, now that the snow's falling, let's now go to our weekly snow reports.
Winter has returned with a vengeance. After the warm spring-like weather of last week, the temperature has dropped and fierce blizzards are affecting most of alpine Europe. The high winds may force the temporary closure of some lifts, but the new snow and colder temperatures should mean improved skiing in most resorts. Over to Austria. In St. Anton, it's still snowing, and the resort here is fully open, but there may be some avalanche danger. At last, Kleinkirchheim has had some fresh natural snow, and more is expected over the weekend. Kitzbühel, the runs to the resort are now open and conditions are improving all the time. Lech-en-Zoos, the skiing here is good and there should be some off-piste skiing, but be careful. In Meyerhofen, the lower runs are improving and all lifts have now been opened. It's snowing in Seefeld and some of the upper lifts have had to be closed, but they'll open once the wind drops. Solden has had almost half a metre of new snow, so there should be some great skiing. Over to France. Les Arcs. The heavy snowfall has meant that Arc 2000 is closed again, but should open by the weekend. In Avoriaz, the links have closed because of the high winds, so the skiing is limited at the moment. Flaine 2 has many lifts closed, but this will improve as the wind drops. Isola 2000. Some lifts are closed because of the wind and snow is expected over the weekend. In Val d'Isère, the weather is bad, but fine sunny weather is expected early next week. Over to Germany, Garmisch has only been able to open the Hausberg area until the wind drops. And on to Italy. Bormio lost a lot of snow last week, but it is snowing now, so the skiing should improve. Courmayeur has only a fraction of the lift system open, but bright, calm weather expected at the weekend. It's snowing at last in Cortina, and it's cold enough to use the snow cannons as well. And moving on to Switzerland, Arosa has had some fresh new snow and the lower slopes have really improved. In Davos, the skiing is very good here, and it's still snowing, but it is expected to clear by the weekend. Klosters now have over 2 meters on the upper slopes, and the runs to the resort are improving all the time. Lenzerheide, it's now got a good base with a new fall of snow on top. Sunny weather is expected for the weekend. In Zermatt, there may be lift closures because of high winds, but there is some excellent skiing to be found. And on to Norway. Geilo has had some new snow this week, with more expected over the next few days. In Hemsedal, it's much colder this week, and they do expect more snow soon. And finally, over to Sweden. Aura's runs have had to shut this week, but the conditions are still quite good. In Salem, there's been over 30 centimetres of snow over the last week, and they now have fine, sunny weather. So, conditions are improving, and artificial snowmakers are now in use again. But do beware, off-piste may be windblown, with instability in some areas.
Well, at this year's ISPO trade show, the manufacturers have been faced with a dilemma. With poor snow conditions right across Europe, fewer skis are being sold to the retailers and therefore fewer are going out onto the market. What it means is that they've stuck with the old technology and put a new cosmetic top surface on the skis. And what we've got this season is fun and bright colours. Well, as you can see, the ski racks are a blaze of colour this year, but the research and development departments have been hard at work. And at Elan, they've come up with this, the Elan MBX. It's a monoblock construction ski, and the X is shrouded in secrecy. What it is, it's a ski with all the strength on the outside. It's a skeletal ski. It has a wood core, gives you high torsional rigidity, and it's a very quick ski edge to edge. But Elan aren't the only ones in the race for technology. Well, this is the ski that's taken the entire industry by storm. It's the Fisher Vacuum CAD. It's a three-dimensional construction with a power wooden core, fiberglass laminates, and the whole lot is then surrounded in carbon. Over that, they have a Protex outer. Now what the ski does, it has a predictable flex pattern, but it's very quick edge to edge. And most importantly, it's stolen Salomon's thunder. Millions of pounds spent over 5 years of research to develop the Salomon ski. But how do they feel about the competition?
Well, it's reassuring in a way, because if they're doing the same sort of things that we're doing, then it would tend to indicate that perhaps we're on the right track. We haven't had a chance to ski their products yet, so we don't know if they are, the same in the end or not. But it's reassuring in a way.
How much money has gone into a company like Salomon starting from scratch to develop a whole new ski?
I'm not absolutely certain of the figures, but it's something of the order of 200 million francs over the whole process.
Well, this year's ISPO Ski Trade Show heralds a new era in ski design, and none more so than this Castellet Integral. It's an integrated ski and binding, and when it's eventually released, it'll have an LED on the front which gives you the temperature and the time. And the future isn't that far away. Castellet aren't the only manufacturer experimenting with an integrated ski and binding. Are all the manufacturers doing the same?
Oh, I think so. But how soon it will happen, I don't know. There are a lot of problems to be overcome, but everyone's looking into it. It's not a dream, I'm sure. One day it'll happen.
How far have Salomon looked into it?
They don't let me see.
One of the interested onlookers was the man who's put Caslay skis to the forefront in the 80s, Swiss skiing star Hermann Zerbriggen. But what does the great man think of the high-tech future?
Yeah, I think it's very good to see that something's going on. It's good.
Looking at the new model here, you can almost tell what time you're doing a downhill now.
You can watch the time what you have done. That's not so very easy. I don't think so that you have time.
Well, with the first sighting of the integrated ski and binding this year for the ski binding manufacturers, it's been a year of consolidation. They're going to wait and see what the future brings. Here at Marker, they've developed a binding which releases you in all different fall situations, and that's very much the story right across the board. Ski bindings today are about as safe as they're going to get. In the future, they're going to get smaller and even electronic. There are a few manufacturers experimenting with electronics this year. But the real development this year is in what goes in them. Let's take a look at ski boots. Once upon a time, all ski boots were front entry, and in the early 70s, Scott and Hansen, two American manufacturers, came up with the rear entry idea. At the beginning of the 80s, Salomon popularized the concept, but what the boot made up for in convenience, it lacked in precision, and it's this year that they've overcome that problem with what they call the mid-entry boot. It has all the technology of a front-loading boot with the convenience of a rear-entry boot. Well, Lang are the first to produce the really commercial mid-entry boot, but the rest of their range is really representative of what's going on in the marketplace, with a big swing back to the four-buckle boot. But here at ISPO, there are two notable exceptions. Well, the first is Dynafit. After spending years concentrating on a four-buckle front-entry boot, their success has come, surprisingly enough, from a rear-entry boot. Now, this is the boot that Helmut Hofland has worn to win 3 World Cup events this season. It's the Dynafit ETS, the Energy to Ski. And next year, they've produced a fully dedicated World Cup boot, which is rear entry.
That is a big change, and that's a new one, and he is also important on this course.
Mm-hmm. What is it about this rear entry boot that you like better than the front loading boot? What is it that's better?
I have better feeling, and that's I need this for the turns. When the turns is the snow is soft, it's very important. I have more feeling to the skier, between the skier and the snow.
Well, the other exceptions from Salomon, the world's largest manufacturer of rear entry boots. At their top end, they've produced a boot this year which is foam fit, and Robbie's here to tell us about it.
Yeah, for us, introducing this new boot, the main thing we wanted to do here was to remove the inconsistencies of actually doing the job on the shop floor to make it easier, but also to get a good, consistent foam fit in the process. How we've achieved that this year is that instead of, say, foaming individually the boots, we're actually introduced a process where you foam both boots at the same time. This guarantees us a consistency of the foam going into both boots. So we don't have an exit pipe either, and what we're doing there is, the main thing that happens when you foam the boot is the gas and the chemical reaction. So what we've introduced, in fact, is something similar to a Gore-Tex membrane. That's probably the simplest way to explain it. So the gas can escape, but the foam stays in the right position. Okay. And the idea is that we've got 2 fits as well, which is different from our competitors. Basically, there will be a pro fit, and there will also be a racer's fit in the system.
Well, there's the latest foam fit boot from Salomon, but it's only one of the many highlights of this year's ski trade show. Well, there's an indication of all that's new and exciting for the coming season. But now it's your chance to win some of this year's products in our weekly competition.
Well, this is the last of our regular weekly competitions, and it's a fairly easy question for all you snowboarding fans. What we want you to tell us is, when you're standing on a snowboard with your left foot forward, are you goofy or regular? If you're standing on a snowboard with your left foot forward, are you goofy or regular? If you think you know the answers, put it on a postcard and send it to us at this address: Ford Ski Report, Eurosport, PO Box 6, Isleworth, Middlesex TW7 5QQ. I'll repeat that: Ford Ski Report, Eurosport, PO Box 6, Isleworth, Middlesex TW7 5QQ in England. Now, 2 weeks ago we asked you where Tyrolia ski bindings are made, and the answer is Austria. And this week's winner is Iona Galanos from Athens. Well done, your prizes are on the way.
Now it's time for our classic head-to-heads.
Our first head-to-head classic this week takes us back to Schladming in January, a men's downhill, and in fact our very first head-to-head. Frank Picard versus Atli Skårdal, but firstly, Permin Zurbriggen.
They start the top of the Planai stripe on our picture, exactly equal. Over the midpoint jump, and the clock tells the story between the two of them as they come past the red control gate. Nothing between the two men. But watch Zurbriggen and Picard as Zurbriggen comes round on the lower control gate with a small advantage. Watch the difference as Zurbriggen goes low to his left and Picard holds the tuck. It's Zurbriggen who loses the advantage and Picard who gains the pace. Swings round the right-hander. Then he has to change, as do they both, onto their right-hand ski to drive round and the traverse. The final turn coming up into the finish schuss after this traverse. Picard on the left, Zurbriggen on the right, both men getting into the tuck. The final jump, and Picard, you can see here, taking off that fraction of a second before, and it's Picard who gets to the bottom first. A couple of meters separating the Frenchman who scores the first victory for France in 19 years. But a few moments later, Picard held his breath as Atli Skårdal of Norway came into view. So now the comparison between Skårdal and Picard. Again, both men synchronously out of the start gate on our special Eurosport view. Something that we'll show you throughout the season whenever we can. So there's the difference. So as they start, watch those clocks and they'll be exactly equal for you. And there they are, both men equal at this point. Skårdal carrying a little bit of extra speed, although looking ragged. But he's ahead of Picard, something like half a second quicker than the Frenchman. Through that control gate with something like 3 meters to spare over the Frenchman. Turning 2 seconds quicker. But now Picard, the man who was better on this section, holding his breath. He had already finished as Skårdal comes down to the final traverse, and that's where Skårdal runs into trouble. Just catching the edge in the soft snow off to his right, sliding out. His chance of scoring the first victory for Norway gone. The first victory for 12 years. So Picard, the man who survives at the bottom, records the first victory for France in 19 years.
Frank Picard winning in Schladming. A couple of days later, just up the road in House in a women's slalom, Yugoslavia's Veronika Saric produced a fantastic second-run charge to overhaul Claudia Strobel.
Now Strobel has 0.8 of a lead over Saric from the first run. It's activated now. Strobel and Saric head to head. This is what Saric's got to do. She's got to close it down, catch up on Strobel. It's a big margin and Strobel's increasing at the top. So as they hit the flats, you can see Strobel, she's a clear gate ahead. Saric living dangerously there as they approach the last corner. You can see it quite clearly. Strobel's nearly a gate up and Saric skids again. As they move onto the steep, she's starting to make some impact. Saric is catching a little on Strobel. And the intermediate times there, Strobel's still up. But she's gaining, Saric is gaining. This is where she starts to really get her speed. And they're virtually together. Here they are. Now Saric, she's got to risk it all, and she does, and she's oh so lucky. She gets through. Almost level. It's a race to the line. Just in front, there's a big push, and she's got it. That's the margin. What a victory.
Well, there really has been some exciting racing this season, and we rejoin the World Cup circuit next week all the way through to the World Cup finals in Åre, Sweden. And as well as seeing the behind-the-scenes action on Ford Ski Report, you can watch all the World Cup races live on Eurosport. But now it's time for our final XR2i competition. In a moment, we'll be giving you all the names that go through to our grand prize draw in our Last But One program, and this is your last opportunity to enter the Ford Fiesta XR2i competition, so get a pen handy. All you have to do is answer 3 simple questions, the first of which is, what is the engine capacity of a Ford Fiesta XR2i in cc's? What is the engine capacity of a Ford Fiesta XR2i in cc's? Now, the second question, which has been the most difficult to answer, how long has the Ford Ski Report been on air? How long has Ford Ski Report been on air? And the third and final question is, who is the reigning men's downhill world champion? Who is the reigning men's downhill world champion? If you think you know, put your answers on a postcard and send them off to the Ford Fiesta XR2i competition, Eurosport, Post Office Box 6, Isleworth, Middlesex, TW7 5QQ in England. That's the Ford Fiesta XR2i competition, Eurosport, Post Office Box 6, Isleworth, Middlesex, TW7 5QQ in England. Well, here are the names of the 8 finalists so far, and we'll be drawing the last one next week. Well done to those people, and good luck in the final draw. Stay with us, because after the break we've got some exciting action from the Grundig Snowboard Challenge, and we've got the first event in this year's World Cup Masters from St. Moritz.
Snowboarding is not only a popular recreational sport, it's also got a rapidly developing competitive circuit with both technical and freestyle disciplines. The Grundig Snowboard Challenge brings the world's best snowboarders together to show off their skills. Here's a taste of what's happened so far this season.
Music, please.
Snowboarding's a pretty wacky sport with a language and style very much its own. Here's a quick rundown of what's hip in the rad world of board talk. But first, what does this mean?
Shaka bra is when you see your friend, or hang loose when you see your friend. It's like, be cool, you know, have a good day. That's kind of like the thumbs up of the language.
In skiing, you know, you have chatter marks around the gate. We call those sketches, you know, maybe you sketch out. When you tweak in there is when you really put your body in a, you know, contorted position. It's also like rad. They just take it a step further and it becomes excellent, or new, which is radical.
Daza. Daza means it was just incredibly cool. That's better than rage. That's better than the ultimate. It was Daza. It comes from the word dazzle, but shortened from snowboard freestylers, man. Daza.
Boned out is when you lock your leg, when you do a trick and you extend your board out into space and lock your leg. You don't. Stinky, that's a good term. Stinky's when both your knees are bent and you look like you're riding a horse. That's bad style. And sometimes people will add a stinky air into their run just to make it funny. During the competition, they'll just throw their legs open and go, oh, you know, whatever.
Shredding ducks in Colorado. Shredding ducks means skiers, because skiers are kind of, you know, touristy skiers are kind of going whack, 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 whack. Well, when you're on a snowboard, you got to get around them, so you're shredding the ducks.
You have front side hits and back side hits when you're in the pipe. The front side is when your chest faces the wall and you leave the vertical. And then the back side is when your butt faces the wall.
Boil your head, man. That means you're really upset. Boil your head means you just red in the face. The judges treated you totally unfairly. You know, you got to them, you go, man, boil your head, you know? And that's about it in a nutshell. There's tons and tons and tons of things. Well, one last thing. A kook or a Barney. A kook or a Barney or a poser is somebody who wants to look like a snowboarder, but, you know, you can tell by the way they ride or by the way they have their binding set or the way they're carrying their board. No, kook, poser, Barney. That's the way I should wrap it up, I think. So shaka bra, hang loose, and shreddy.
If the next time you're out snowboarding, someone comes up to you and says, Daza, boil your head or shred it, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. But the first snowboarders to get to shred it here in St. Moritz were on the bumps, and despite the bad weather, the side-by-side knockout competition was a good chance to see the best in the world in action. Finishing third in the men's competition was Swiss favourite Jose Fernandez.
It's very difficult. I think the red course is a little bit easier, and